What's up, guys? EDA here, and we're going to be covering the UFC 304 event, which was held in Manchester. And guys, I apologize for this review coming so late. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't upset by the main event, to be honest with you, but no, real life priorities took over, so I couldn't get to this review as soon as I would have liked. We're going to be covering the main key talking points from the night. It's going to be quick, it's going to be swift, and we're going to cover the key talking points. And we're going to start at the main event, the biggest fight of the night. This is one that we talked about in the preview. There was a lot to be looked at in this fight. Key things for me, obviously the first fight, the history and the bad blood which was apparently between the two. It played out throughout that fight week. We saw Bilal constantly showing his frustration with Leon downplaying Bilal. And one thing I mentioned at the beginning of the fight, even looking at the first one, where Leon actually dealt quite well with Bilal, a need for dealing with that pressure. And I think one of the key things we need to look at when we're looking at stylistic matchups is technical strikers versus pressure fighters. We saw it against Izzy versus Alex Pereira and Sean Strickland, and we've seen it again against Leon, against Bilal. And one of the key things that Kamaru Usman mentioned when he was analysing the fight was that, and he's right, he's not wrong, that for the majority of the fight that he fought Leon second time, he was dominating the majority of that fight, which is correct. And Leon pulled out that amazing kick, and that's not to downplay Leon, because I think he's a really, really good welterweight, one of the best. He's shown that in his defenses of the title and winning the title. But Kamaru mentioned saying that he may have got overly confident, forgetting what he had done previously to get to that point. And I think there was potentially a little bit of that. His camp has mentioned the time for coming in with a potential injury. All of these things are excuses at the end of the day, and I think Leon will tell you probably the same thing, that whatever it was, he lost. Looking at the stats on the night and looking at the performance on the night, Bilal was the deserved winner. There's no question about that. 9 takedowns of the 13 he attempted, crazy output. Total strikes 281 compared to 114 from Kamaru. Just destroyed, to be honest with you, just dominated. And Bilal was doing what he's done to many others, to Leon, which was a bit of a surprise, but not a shock, because again, I mentioned that pressure element. It's so strong, so powerful, and we've got a new welterweight champion of the world, and it's going to be interesting to see who his next matchup is against. I have some thoughts about who he should be fighting, but firstly, he deserves to enjoy this win. And as someone who was a Bilal doubter, I would say, especially early on, he's proven himself. And I said it before, the Sean Brady fight was a big one for me. It showed me, because Sean was someone who was very much hyped. He showed out, and since then I've given him his dues, I've given him his props. And again, when he won, as hard as it was for someone who really enjoys Leon, he ran out deserved winner. For Leon, go back to the drawing board. You need to assess what went wrong. It's easy to say the time, it's easy to say the potential injuries. You didn't get the job done. And I think it's that pressure element. How do you deal with that pressure? Not pressure as in the moment, but pressure is in terms of Bilal puts on a crazy amount of pressure. In terms of just actively, consistently going forward, him and Alex Pereira at the moment stand out as two people that just constantly go forward. Max Holloway to a different dynamic and different degree, but that pressure for a technical striker who's looking for those little holes and gaps, and that awkwardness of that pressure and coming in with different angles, and Bilal being very much having a bistance stance. So he can switch stances quite quickly, and that's a term that's commonly used. So congrats to Bilal. Leon needs to go back to the drawing board. Dana said he's not getting an immediate rematch. It's a bit harsh. I think a lot of what Dana done was a little bit harsh, but we'll get into that. Next up, we had Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades, the second of its name. First time we had the fight stop after 15 seconds. Tom Aspinall with a knee injury. Curtis Blades ran out as a winner. This was redemption for Tom. That injury was a change in his life from what he said. It made him reevaluate the way he was training, the way he was behaving, the way he was acting. And again, this was another Tom Aspinall fight. If you know Tom, and I've watched each and every one of his UFC fights, and I've had the privilege and honor of doing so. And again, I thought as soon as I saw him, that's a champion. He has it all. But this was a normal Tom Aspinall fight, and it's funny to say that because it lasted a minute, and if you look at his previous fights, they've lasted roughly around that amount of time. Key thing to mention with this is, and with the way that Tom goes into these fights, and I'll say something that is maybe a little bit controversial as someone who really loves Tom. In the first couple of seconds, he's collecting so much data, managing the distance, looking at his opponent's reach, because Curtis had a bigger reach. He got caught early. Curtis got his confidence up, thinking he could have fought Tom a lot more. Tom collected that data, made the necessary adjustments, and laid out Curtis in the first round, in the first minute, and your interim heavyweight champion. Scratch that. Your heavyweight champion is Tom Aspinall. He deserves it. He is it. And I truly believe if he was to go up against John Jones, it would be John Jones, one of his toughest fights. I just believe in Tom so much. I think he's an amazing talent, but also an amazing ambassador for the sport, especially in the UK. And it was amazing to see him win, amazing to see him do what he does, but no surprise. I had a little bit of doubt, I won't lie. Curtis is one of the most dominant heavyweights, especially in terms of wrestling. And if it got dicey, I would have backed Tom all the way, no doubt about that. But you got to give Curtis his respect. Classy individual, talented in multiple ways. And again, he might not be championship level, but he's one of the best. And I hope to see him come back and perform even better in the future. For Tom, it's John Jones versus Stipe, winner of that, face the champ. If I'm him, I'm tearing up trees. You can have that fight. That's not the real heavyweight championship fight. All of those things, they were good. I'm the champion now. It's not in his character. He's a classy individual, but the UFC haven't been classy to him, in my opinion. John Jones hasn't been classy to him. It's time to take the gloves off, make a money fight, and let people know that you're the real champion, if you do believe so. And he did say it, but I want to hear it more. I want to hear it with a little bit more venom as well. Next up, Paddy Pimblett versus King Green, and I actually backed Bobby Green to win this. But again, I'm very honest, and I'm very objective when we look at these fights. And I mentioned how talented Paddy was on the ground. I've mentioned the instability of Bobby on the ground as well. And I said if there was a path of victory, Paddy, who is a very, very good and very, very talented submission artist, would have an opportunity there. On the feet, I had my doubts, but Paddy all round, he deserves that. And we got the Bobby that I don't think we got in the Jim Miller fight. Maybe it's the opposition wasn't at the same level, but we got a Bobby that was of some of his older or previous fights, in my opinion. But nothing can be taken away from Paddy. He said he wanted to be ranked. He proved he was ranked, and onwards and upwards for him. How far away he is from the title, is he title material? It's yet to be seen, but he's doing good work, and he's been in the UFC for a period of time now. He's ranked. He can build upon that in one of the harder divisions in the UFC. So congrats to him as well. Quick ones we'll go over. Gregory Rodriguez beat Christian Leroy Duncan. Again, I called that Rodriguez would win. Fight wasn't anything to write home about, so I won't cover that in major detail, but Rodriguez is a tough out for anyone in that division. He's hard to get out. I saw some sparring he did with Alex Pereira. Violent. Arnold Allen beat Giga Chikadze. Where Giga's going, I'm not sure. He's not been on the best streaks, but Arnold Allen is back. I love Arnold Allen, and I hope to see him again, getting an opportunity at the top of the division, whether that's Topuria, whether that's Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, whoever it may be. I'd love to see him flourish and show his quality as well. Looking at the rest of the prelims, Nathaniel Wood won. Again, great to see him. Dominant victory, in my opinion. And again, I want to see him get some ranked fights, some big name fights, because he's been on a roll. Some difficult fights, some difficult opposition, but he always comes out. Molly McCann lost. Again, she's there for entertainment value when they come to the UK. I think not much more out of that. Makayev and Manel Campbell, I'm going to cover this really, really quickly. Coming with the most amount of hype. Fighting in the UFC PI, fighting in the team hotel, security stopping them when they're about to fight. Never seen anything like it. And then they start fighting and it simmers down. And I understand it. No one wants to get knocked out in the first 5 minutes. But that amount of hype and that amount of venom that you were showing beforehand didn't translate into the fight. And that got the crowd against them. Makayev comes out, I would say, pretty dominantly. Camp didn't really offer much, in my opinion. He wasn't as dangerous as he should be. Some good elbows from the down position, but nothing else. And then after the fights, you're thinking Muhammad Makayev is 7-0 in the UFC, undefeated. In my opinion, he should be fighting for the title next, if I'm just being honest and fair. And Dana says, he's cut, the PFL, congrats on the new signing. And I was like, what has happened? And it's transpired that potentially Muhammad Makayev's representatives were talking to PFL. UFC found out and were furious. Funnily enough, PFL don't even have a flyweight division, so where was the logic in that? But I think they didn't like him for his style. It doesn't resonate overly with the overall British crowd in attendance. I think the British MMA community loves him. I'm one of them. He's endearing. If you know about his story, he's a great ambassador for those who have come through the same journey. So I wish the best for Makayev. I don't think the UFC are going to go back on their decision. They've removed him from the rankings already. It's really sad, but hopefully he lands on his feet. There were some of the other fights, but nothing majorly to concern ourselves with. Key things to call out, obviously. Tom retains, Leon loses, Bilal's the new welterweight champion of the world, and we look forward. So we're going to cover the next UFC card, guys. I'll let you know when that will be, and I'll speak to you soon. Peace.